be showing. I don't know why it's not showing.
This week, I have the immense pleasure to have Gillian Forrester and Trudy Edgington, who are the co-founders of the SOFAR Network. Now, the SOFAR Network is an acronym for Supporting Outstanding Female Academics and Researchers. And so Gillian, Trudy are here to just tell us a little bit more about it and give us some background. So would you like to introduce yourself, ladies?
Oh, thank you, Corinne. So my name is Trudy Edgington, and I'm a clinical psychologist and a mindfulness teacher. I'm also head of department of the psychology department at City University of London.
And I am Gilly Forrester. I am an evolutionary and developmental psychologist at Birkbeck University of London. I work with children, chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans, trying to understand the way that we became human over developmental and evolutionary time. And yeah.
So ladies, you co-founded the SOFAR Network. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that? Give us some information.
Yeah, absolutely. So our network is a mentorship network, and it's a mentorship network for females in academia, and particularly academics and researchers who are working in a very sort of structured way to promote science. And the fact that we feel very strongly that mentorship is a way of supporting each other at times when things are quite challenging, and also to be able to celebrate each other's success and to be able to work together to be able to allow other female academics and researchers at different stages of their career to flourish and to feel connected. So it's a very sort of collaborative way of working.
Yeah, totally agree. So some of our objectives are to really bring women to the forefront of senior roles in academia and industry, and to fix the leaky pipeline, because we know we lose so many talented women throughout their career trajectory because we face unique obstacles. Just being women, trying to kind of climb the ladder and get to where we want to go to in our own careers. So we are forming this lovely network just to, as Trudy said, support each other, share good practice, share useful strategies for navigating your career path, whether it's a direct line to the top or a really wiggly road.
So how did you two meet?
Well, Gilly and I first met when we were both working at the University of Westminster. So we were both lecturers there, and we taught neuroscience and cognitive neuroscience and evolutionary psychology together on the course there. But we also had a connection whereby we travelled into London together on the train. And so in a way, our meeting also had a sense of friendship and connection right from the start, not just professionally, but also personally outside of work. So we were able to sort of have a good gossip on the train, we could support each other, and we could also talk about work. So our interests overlapped and really sort of helped to consolidate that friendship and that professional working relationship.
Yeah, and I think there was an element also already of supporting each other's confidence levels. So there were things that Trudy said, you should go for that, where I would never have thought of going for things if it had been up to me on my own. But having that external person who's evaluating you as an individual, separate from how you evaluate yourself, within maybe more of a structured patriarchal framework that is academia and industry. It was lovely to have this external person who can see you and say, no, actually, you can do that. You need to put yourself up for that. And so, I mean, I attribute much of my changes in progress to chats that I've had with Trudy.
And so it's sort of that not only mentoring others, but also being mentored by others. That
Absolutely. And actually, you know, it's lovely that Julie says that, because, you know, we did support each other, because there were times when I don't think I would have applied to be head of department if I hadn't had Julie sort of encouraging me every step of the way and sort of saying, of course you can do it, of course that you should be thinking of applying. But also the fact of really having that sense of, I think both of us really enjoying each other's success as well. So, and that can be quite rare within academia, unfortunately, because it is a very competitive environment. And obviously as women, because we come in at different stages of our lives, and we might have come to academia late, or we might need to have a break in our academic pathway. That sort of building confidence and celebrating our success and being happy for each other is a really important part of it. So Julie was always really happy if something good happened to me, and I was really happy if something good happened to her. And I think there is that sense that you can really sort of support and sort of enable each other to take that next step and to be confident in doing so.
Yeah. And when we had a struggle, if there was an obstacle, we were there to help each other understand it, maybe not overcome it, but at least understand it. And I think, Corinne, you've asked if it means also mentoring downward. Absolutely. And I think it's understanding where we've stumbled allows us to be better mentors to the people coming up below us. So we've both always been really keen and big advocates of mentoring individuals who are coming up below us, and not just below us, but I mean, I think mentoring women to stay in academia and research and seeking out senior roles in their professions should start very young. You know, girls can do it.
That's lovely. It's lovely to hear your thoughts on why women should support women. I think that's so important, and that's what this network's all about, isn't it? So what have you really gained from mentorship, and what can be gained from mentorship? Why is mentorship so important, especially in women?
I mean, I can speak for myself in terms of the confidence, and I think there's a real sense of having to find your way and to really sort of establish yourself as a credible academic and a researcher. I think sometimes as women, we might have to work a little bit harder to be taken seriously, and to also have our strengths recognized. Quite often the fact that we might be sort of caring, kind, or compassionate doesn't always sort of reflect that need of being somebody commanding or ambitious or competitive. So there are strengths that we can also be that way, but there is that sense of having to sort of recognize those strengths and to really celebrate those strengths and notice the areas where we might need a little bit of additional support in terms of building that sense of who we are and feeling comfortable with who we are in this sort of competitive environment. So, and being there for each other when there are challenges. And there are some very unique challenges in academia that if you're outside of academia, you might not necessarily have insight into. It's a, you know, it can be quite a closed world. And having someone else to just bounce off ideas, or to, you know, what do you think I should do in this situation, or I've noticed this challenge, how would you approach it? Just getting that sort of external validation and guidance is so important.
Yeah. And Trudy and I are both mothers, and I don't think parenthood is the only obstacle that women face in academia and industry, but it is one of them. And for me personally, I was so fortunate after a career break for having my daughters to find the Daphne Jackson Trust, which was a postdoctoral research fellowship for women who've had a career break to raise children to come back and connect back with their science careers. And there are far too few of those, and we need to be helping other women, pointing, you know, signposting where these opportunities are, maybe trying to support the development of additional opportunities to get women back into their careers if they are taking a break for family, because it's not just about retraining. as Trudy was saying, it's about building confidence and resilience, because it's such a competitive environment that just having a year or two out can completely make you just take you completely off track. And understanding actually that, you know, like we were saying, you're not necessarily going to have a linear trajectory in your career. That's more common for our male colleagues, but that there are still ways to go about gaining those progressions that you want to gain. And sometimes I think that our wiggly roads actually make us stronger and more competitive and more comprehensive in our understanding of the fields that within which we work.
And it gives us that extra edge, that extra experience. So we have, before your wiggly road, what is one thing that you wish a mentor had told you at the beginning of your career?
Oh gosh. Well, I know there was one thing that early on I thought I wished somebody had told me, which was, don't take a career break before you have your first full-time academic post. Because that first academic post will kind of lay the foundation for the rest of your career. Of course, I had my first daughter literally 3 weeks after I submitted my corrections for my PhD, and I was 3 months pregnant when I vivaed, so there wasn't any way that I was going to be able to do that. But it can leave you a bit adrift, and working your way back can be tricky. So like I was saying before, finding the Daphne Jackson Trust was a lifeline for me back into academia. So having had a better understanding of that earlier would have been useful.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the Daphne Trust?
So the Daphne Jackson Trust is a trust that is, they're really a matchmaking service in some ways, where they find women who have had a break from their STEM careers for caring responsibilities. And actually, they're not just women anymore. It's opened up to anybody who's had caring responsibilities and have had to take a break to come back into their career with training, but part-time, so they're able to retain a balance of work life. And that's really important, especially for parents with young children, to want to be able to be there for their children, but also not completely abandon their career, because we all know that particularly within academia, keeping a foot in is really important. Once you've completely disengaged from it, it can be very, very difficult to come back into it, because many fields move very quickly. So they offer this opportunity to do a postdoctoral research fellowship, 50% at 50%. So you're part-time, only part-time over 2 or 3 year periods, and it's fully funded either by the host institution and or a mix of UKRI funding bodies. So it's a really nice vehicle for re-entering academia after a break.
What about you, Trudy? Is there anything that you wish a mentor had told you at the beginning of your career that sort of would have given you that extra little bit of an edge?
Yeah, no, for me, it's slightly different as well, because I came into academia late. So I haven't had a break from academia, but I came in as a mature student into university education. Before coming into university, I trained as a nurse. So I'd worked in a number of different clinical settings, working in different hierarchies, in lots of different sort of team sort of settings that were very demanding and fast paced. So I felt very strongly that would really put me in a strong, resilient position as a woman coming into academia, but hadn't realized and sort of maybe that the team approach isn't always there within academia as it would be working sort of in a hospital setting, for instance. So I feel as if I wish I'd known just how competitive academia was when I first started, because I think I might have maybe not taken it more seriously, but sort of been more strategic. Whereas when I started, I was very much of the mind that I wanted to be able to just enjoy the science and the research for the pure quality of the research and the science, as opposed to being strategic and thinking ahead. but unfortunately, within academia, you also need that too if you want to succeed. So it's finding a way to balance that, because I think it's really important that I work in a team. I love working. I much prefer working in a team rather than individually. So, but you also have to build your portfolio in order to build your credibility, and to make sure that if you are considering leadership positions, that you have that sort of footing and that sort of research standing, so that you are taken seriously and you have the respect. So yeah, the competitiveness. And also, just one other thing that's come to mind actually, which I think is really important, that there is also sometimes a ruthlessness in academia, that you think that you might be involved in a project and that you're part of it and that you'll be included in an academic paper, but that's not always the case. And sometimes you have to make a contract at the very beginning, and I had not been aware of that when I came into academia. I felt that if you contributed, that would be acknowledged, but that's not always the case. So yeah, you have to be quite strong. So yeah, those were the things that I wish I'd known in advance.
Yeah, that's so true. And the strategy can be different depending on what sort of situation you're in. So you might actually do your PhD in a really large laboratory and have loads of resources and opportunities to gain access to authorships or networks of other labs where you can do visits and really build up your portfolio. Or you might be a bit more of a fringe researcher. Maybe it's slightly outside what is fashionable at the moment. So I would place myself in that category, in which case you have to play the game slightly differently. And just as Trudy was saying, you have to work out what is your strategy, and everybody is playing a strategic game in academia, and you don't really learn it until you're in it, and you don't really know what's normal until you've kind of been there for a while. It's kind of like growing up in a family where you say, oh, well, family is normal. This is my family. And that's always what I thought was normal because that's what I grew up in. But then you meet other families and you realize, oh, wow, it's really, really varied. And therefore, you know, this is like our academic families. They're very varied. They function differently. But I think that's why the SOFAR Network is so important, to have this vast breadth of experience of women who have had experiences across all these different types of lab groups and academic positions and progression and departments and industries, to help everyone better understand what is the best way to not only progress but also preserve your well-being and your quality of life, and your mental well-being as well along the way.
So you've created this vehicle for showcasing these 30, or more than 30 in the future, but these 30 women. And how did you come about choosing these women, and what are your plans for expanding the network?
In some ways, this was a very natural sort of assimilation of women that have either inspired us, or that we're connected with, or that either have mentored us, or that we're mentoring them. I know, for instance, there were some students who were in their sort of early stages of their career, and there was a natural mentorship relationship that had been sort of evolving, and that just felt like a natural sort of invitation. And also some other researchers and academics that have come into your life in different ways, either as collaborators or as people that you can see also embody the same values that we have, in terms of that supporting and celebrating other women. So yeah, but it's very difficult because there are so many wonderful, outstanding women, and this is just the start. So, you know, these are the founding members.
Yeah, we had to start somewhere, you know, this is SOFAR is Trudy's conceptual baby, and I'm so glad to be kind of riding the wave with her. But between us, we very easily put together a list of 28 founding members, and then including ourselves, making it 30. and it came together rather naturally because we weren't looking specifically for people at a certain level of their career. We actually wanted individuals who span the whole trajectory, from undergraduates like yourself all the way up to CEOs in industry, with whom we had collaborated on occasions or knew in some capacity through our work, who we felt, like Trudy said, embodied the value system of being supportive to other women and being able to offer something either above or below them via the SOFAR network.
That's really wonderful. I have the honor of being part of this network as well, and we had our first event on Monday, and I'm just wondering if you just wanted to give a little run through and how you found the event and how it made you feel to see this group of women together just being so excited and supporting each other.
Corinne, do you know what I think it was one of the highlights of my career today, actually. I felt so moved. Even as I'm talking about it now, I can actually feel the chills. It was really moving. It was really humbling to see so many wonderful women, and everybody with that same quality of having this really natural, authentic, genuine desire to support each other, but still to have the ambition and the desire to progress and to lead, but to do it in a way that is true to themselves. And to see all of these women coming in at different stages, I mean, there was an energy, and obviously we had to do this in a virtual setting, and believe in that, it felt really close, it felt really intimate, and obviously, I think we were just really moved by our keynote speaker, our patrons. I'm going to let Gilly speak a little bit more about our patrons, but it was just, it really was a wonderful moment, and I feel that it sort of brought everything together, and it's almost like the pinnacle of knowing something special has been created, and now it's got a life of its own, and it's just going to flourish, which embodies everything that we wanted to happen.
Yeah. Do you know what I liked the best about it, Trudy? It was that it completely dispersed any feeling of competition. You know, you and I working on bringing this group together, it's not our network now. It's not Trudy's and my network. It's our net. It's the whole, you know, the network belongs to all of the founding members. But what was lovely was there was no feeling of competition within it. I'm not at the top of my career trajectory. There are women in this network who are well above me, and I look forward to receiving mentorship from them, and being able to use their good practice to mentor the women who are coming up behind me. But normally, if you were in an environment where there were people above you in your career trajectory, there'd be an element of competition in the room in some capacity. And I just didn't feel that at all. This really did feel like we are here to support each other. Let's help fix the leaky pipeline. Let's move on and help each other just do the best we can. And also with that sense of, yeah, there's a game to be played to some extent, but slow down and enjoy yourself, because you only get one opportunity to do this, right? This is your one life's journey in your career if you are a career academic, and you should also enjoy it. And I did get a sense of that through people speaking at the event on Monday, was that they're super passionate, and their passion for their science outweighs their competitiveness to just get to the top. It's more about the science, and I love that. And that kind of also embodies our patrons. So we were fortunate enough to have two amazing patrons accept an invitation to be associated with the SOFAR network. So we have an academic patron who's Dame Ute Frith, who is a very well-known and established developmental psychologist who has so much to offer us in terms of being a woman in science. And then we also have our industry patron, who is Rachel Neiman, and she is a senior specialist in strategic strategy, digital strategic strategy. But she has worked at all levels of industry and government. So she also will help us guide the future of the network in terms of how our structure unfolds and how we can make sure that that we invest in the technology that we need to make sure that we can achieve the goals that we want to achieve, and also give us some great consultation on progressing with research backgrounds within industry as well. So yeah, we're super fortunate to have them on board.
And what was lovely, Corinne, as well, was our keynote speaker, Professor Sarah Garfinkel as well. We had invited her to give our inaugural keynote speech, and everything that she presented was just, it just spoke to all of the values. There was humility, there was kindness, there was connection, and also just establishing the fact of all of the threads and the common threads between us, the common experiences, the common sort of challenges and desires in the way that we want to proceed. So it just was so warm and so inviting, and yeah, really exciting to see where this is going next.
Yeah, and Sarah's keynote talk, she is a founding member, and so our hope is that, you know, every time we have our meetings, we will have a different SOFAR member give a keynote talk. Oh, look, I've got my cat too. He's been a very, very big part of the network today.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
But yes, no, Sarah's talk was wonderful. It was titled "What Makes a Good Supervisor," and a lot of it was focused on, you know, looking at your mentee, look at the person behind the mentee, and everybody's an individual. They all have different needs, and we need to kind of step away from our strategic, competitive nature of what's your next step, and think of the individual and what their needs are, and what's going to make them the best scientist or industry and person that they can be.
And do you have any future plans for future events and things that people can look forward to?
Definitely. We're going to be sort of planning some monthly drop-in sessions where we're going to be sort of having discussions and chats about different sort of being able to showcase our members,
give a keynote
and
talk,
having a way of connecting. And then also sort of, we're definitely going to continue with
a very, very big part of the network today
on International Women's Day, which was the other really sort of wonderful thing that we actually were able to launch on International Women's Day, to really support that sort of choose to challenge sort of ethos, the way that we also want to be able to connect and support each other. So there are a lot for us to sort of think about, and again, you know, also putting this out to the network, you know, sort of asking the network what they also want, and how they also have a vision for how they would like the network to evolve. So already there is a sense, and this was something else that really came out for me, was at the very beginning, Julie and I were able to introduce ourselves separately in terms of our different trajectories and what we're doing now, but also in some of our shared work that we'd already been doing. I mean, Julie's Me Human sort of initiative, and the way that she's brought all of the scientists together to work on collaborative projects. Everything that we're doing is embodying our sort of our values and the way that we want to connect and bring everyone together. So there are so many different overlapping threads and projects that are emerging and evolving. So it's a really exciting time, and there's a lot to sort of look forward to.
And that those are really important points that that we should raise and highlight, in that mentorship doesn't always come via a one-to-one conversation with somebody. It's not always about counseling them on something. Sometimes it can just be giving them opportunities. And Trudy and I have found that that's a really useful way to mentor. So lots of public engagement where you can get students involved and your more early career scientists involved, so they're getting hands-on experience doing the things that they'll need to gain the skill sets from to become established scientists. And I think those have been some of our proudest moments, is watching our early career scientists and our students gain both their experimental skills and an ability to connect with the public, because being a scientist is not just about being in the lab. It's not just about writing academic papers. It's being able to both orally and vocally express your ideas and share with the wider public what the impact of your work is. So I think that's something that we're going to really accentuate via the Me Human public engagement umbrella. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the future.
So Jilly, Trudy, are there any last comments you would like to make?
Watch this space.
Definitely watch this space.
Watch this space and look out for Curran's midweek mingle with all of the founding members who hopefully will make an appearance over the next year. We've got 30 of them already, and we'll be expanding the network over the next year as well. So I say you can almost fill every week with an incredible female scientist.
So we're planning on doing every week, we'll have a different scientist. So definitely watch the space. And I'm very excited to see what both of you are doing and the projects you're working on. Fantastic. And especially the SOFAR Network. It's a lovely, lovely network of people who are so collaborative. And as a founding member myself, I found that it really just is women wanting to lift other women up and support other women. And that's such a nice environment.
I think also that the listeners will be really incredibly impressed with the quality of work that's going on from also our early career scientists as well. I mean, you think of more established scientists as being the ones who are running projects and testing participants and writing papers and getting grants and all that sort of stuff. But actually, there is so much going on already with our early career scientists that they're going to be really amazing to also interview and understand what the current environment is like for them as early career scientists now, not just kind of in the 2020s, but during a pandemic, and what the future holds for them, and how they're navigating their path, and hopefully how we can help them navigate that path.
Yeah. And also to just think about our social media presence as well, so that we're going to have a sort of a long-term approach to be able to showcase each other, because that's another part of academia. We're now sort of in a position where when you do sort of work really well on a research project and you're disseminating science, you also have to almost sell yourself, and that doesn't always come naturally. It's sort of it's quite difficult. It's very easy to do it for others, but not quite so easy to do it for yourself. So we're going to give it, all of our members that opportunity to be able to have somebody else sort of showcase their work, give them a platform, and sort of develop those skills in that public engagement, but also in that sort of way of being confident about celebrating your own success. And actually Sarah spoke about that beautifully in her talk about being able to celebrate the fact that she'd received an award, and being able to celebrate her success. So yeah, I think it's going to be really nice for us to be able to do that and continue to do that throughout the whole of the year, virtually, together, but also on social media as well.
And we're looking forward to meeting in person next time.
Yes.
Well, and I think that one of the other points to make, if we haven't said this already, we might have already said this, is that the women who are now the founding membership of the SOFAR Network represent many disciplines across multiple institutions, both academic and industry. So we want to be something that is bigger than a particular subject area. We want to be multidisciplinary. We want to be intersectional as well. We want to represent the diversity of women across industry and academia, and support women throughout their career trajectories.
Wow, Jilly, Trudy, it's been so lovely to have you here and just to hear about a little bit more about you and the network. And I think everyone listening will be very, very excited to see what's to come with the network. And it was really lovely. Thank you for joining me today. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you, Corinne.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye.